Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and this is my June wrap-up and TBR, or June wrap-up and July TBR, whatever. So I have a few statistics for you that I have written down here. I read 10 books this month. I read 1 ebook, 3 audiobooks, 2 library books, and then the other 4 were mine. I read 4,034 pages, which is about 135 a day. So the first book that I read was an ebook, and it was A Love That Splits the World by Emily Henry. And it's about this girl named Natalie, who is an adopted Native American child who was brought up in a white family. And through her entire life, she would get nightmares, and she would have a lot of problems with waking up with panic attacks and just horrible nightmares. And one of her nightmares turned out to be this figure that she calls Grandma. And she got really comfortable with Grandma and got to the point where she wanted to be with her at all times, and she would look forward to her nightly visitations. Well, when she got a little older, the visits from Grandma would start becoming more infrequent, until suddenly they have this one visit and Grandma tells her it's the last one, that she only had 3 months left and that she needed to save the boy. She had no clue what was going on. She didn't know what that meant, and she couldn't find a way to get in touch with Grandma. So you spend the entirety of the book trying to figure out who she was supposed to save, who Grandma is, and what it all means. It was a really good book. It's definitely gotten some bad rap. It's a slower book. It's more methodical. There's lots of storytelling in it, but I really liked it. I thought it was a really wonderful book. It was definitely a 5-star for me, and I look forward to reading Emily Henry's next book. The next section that I want to do is the library books that I checked out. The first one that I got was called A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and A Monster Calls was this absolutely beautiful book about a boy named Connor who was 13 years old, and his mom was very sick. It sounds like cancer, but it was kind of unsure about what exactly she was sick with. It never said for sure, but it really sounds like she's sick with cancer. He's been having problems at school. His dad is non-existent in his life, and to top it all off, his mean grandmother is coming for a visit to help take care of him and his mom while his mom is sick. And he's not happy about this at all. He's actually very angry about it. So he wakes up with a nightmare, another nightmare book. He wakes up with a nightmare that there is a monster outside his window. Is the monster real? Why did the monster come? There's all these different questions to be asked in this book, and it was a wonderful book. It had me laughing, it had me sobbing. It was definitely a heart-wrenching book, but I think it was really good. I also did my very first book talk, movie review thing on this book, and I will make sure I link it down below. The other library book that I read was We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, and I did not like this book. Everybody that I had seen that has rated it has given it 5 stars, that they all absolutely loved it. I gave it 3 stars. 3 stars because it was definitely an interesting story, but it made me so angry. You're gonna be told over and over again to go into this book blind. All you know is it's about a rich family who owns an island, and they spend every summer there. And there's a reason why nobody tells you what it's about, because if they told you what the book was about, they would completely spoil it for you. And that frustrated me. It frustrated me not knowing what was going on. I don't mind slow books. I don't mind mysteries. I don't mind the intrigue, but I do mind having no earthly idea what a book is about until I'm 200 pages into it. So there's my warning and my intrigue for you. If you like books that leave you on the edge of your seat going, what is going on? Then read We Were Liars. But it annoyed me to no end. So I only gave it 3 stars because I couldn't. The next set of books I want to talk about were my audiobooks. And the first one I read this month was Beauty Queens. I have been listening to the Daughter and Smoke and Bone series. I had listened to the first one last month, and there was a long wait on overdrive for the second book. So in the meantime, I started just kind of browsing through, and I keep running across Beauty Queens. It's one of those ones that I have checked out a bunch of times. I even checked it out on audiobook before, and I just never made it to actually listening to it. So I decided to go ahead and go for it. I thought it was interesting. It's written by Liva Bray. It's also narrated by Liva Bray. And this book was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. You have a bunch of beauty queens that were on a plane on their way to this island getaway where they were supposed to practice all of their routines and do a bunch of photo shoots, and instead they crash landed on a deserted island and they have to survive. And it's really, really funny. You have ditzy, airheaded chicks alongside extremely smart ones that are all gorgeous beauty queens, and it's so funny. There's a bunch of diversity in the book. You have people from all different cultures in there, and it's just, it was the stupidest book I've ever listened to, but it was one of the best books I've ever listened to. And I had a blast listening to it. I laughed so hard in so many points. And my favorite parts were when Tiara talked, because she is the ultimate airhead. She did all of the CD breaks, and of course I'm listening to it on Audible, so I don't have CDs, but every time there would have been a CD break, she talks about it. So you get this super airhead voice going, "Oh my gosh, this is disc 5, that's a whole hand." Or the time that she says, "Oh, we're on disc 7. 7's the amount of calories I'm allowed to have for breakfast." It was so funny. And those are probably one of my favorite little perky points on it, was when she's doing these CD breaks, and I am laughing hysterically the entire time. So, Beauty Queens, if you want something funny that is just going to be pure entertainment, definitely listen to it, because Liva Bray does such an amazing job at narrating her own book, because she knows exactly how she wants it to sound, and even the acknowledgments were funny. The last 2 audiobooks I read were the second and third book from the Daughter and Smoke and Bone series. The first one is called The Days of Blood and Starlight, and the second one is called The Dreams of Gods and Monsters. And I loved them so much. Right as I was finishing up Beauty Queens, the second book became available, and I was about halfway through the second book when the third book became available, so I had them all at the same time, and I just powered right through them. It got so bad that I was doing my planner videos and I couldn't talk, because all I could think about was these books. I had to listen to them. I had to finish them. It was like a compulsive need. They were amazing. I love them so much. So needless to say, I have to buy these books now, because I checked them out on overdrive from my library, and now I have a desperate need to own these books. And my birthday's coming up, so I gave my husband a birthday list, and guess what's on it? That entire trilogy. I have never read anything from Laini Taylor before. That was my very first experience, and I loved it. The first book took me a few chapters to get into, but after that I just flew right through all 3 of them. As fast as I possibly could, I listened to these books. And I listened to them when I was driving, I listened to them while I was editing, I listened to them while I was working out. Loved, loved, loved them. If you've never experienced them and you're a little wary because they're big, huge, thick books, listen to them, because the narrator did a very good job. She's definitely not my favorite narrator, but I really, really enjoyed those books. And I'm looking forward to having my own copy of them. So now we are down to the books that I actually physically have sitting next to me, so you could stop seeing pictures of them and actually see the books themselves. So the first book that I finished this month that was my physical book was Redeemed by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. It is the 12th and final book in the House of Night series. I have been reading these books since they first started coming out. I've read now all 12 books and 4 novellas, and I really liked them. I know they had lasted a long time and people were hating on them because they lasted 12 books. and that there is definitely some inconsistencies with. They definitely overlooked pieces that they had written into the earlier books. And I think that's a problem when you have so many books, is that you're going to have inconsistencies with it. But it is a teen vampire book that came out in the heyday, the same time Twilight came out and the same time that the Vampire Academy came out. And it just took me forever to finish this one. But I enjoyed it, and I'm glad I finished it. I think it was a really good, solid end to the series, and I don't know if I'll ever read it again because this is such a long series, but I definitely liked it. The next book I read was The Daughter of the Pirate King, and this came in one of my Owl Crate boxes, and I kind of got into this little bit of a rut where I didn't know what to read. I had finished Redeemed, and I was in the middle of listening to all of my audiobooks, and I wanted to read an actual book, but I had no idea what to read. So I asked my daughter, I was like, what should I read? And she goes poking around on my books and brings me back this one. And I started it, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, hemming and hawing over it, but it didn't take me very long. It took me like a whopping 3 chapters to be completely engulfed in it. It was super, super cute. And it's about this daughter of a pirate king who gets herself purposely kidnapped by another pirate in order to find a treasure map. And it's really sweet. It's really cute. There's a kind of friendship, love interest in there. She definitely has an interesting time on this ship. And I definitely think that if you're looking for something just fun to read, go with this. I'm looking forward to the next one coming out. I love Illuminae. Absolutely loved Illuminae. I got into this little bit of a funk. I got about halfway through it. It was getting really, really hyped up, really, really interesting. And I almost quit reading it because I didn't have Gemina. And I didn't want to finish reading this one without the next one. So I kind of bit the bullet and I went on reading anyways. I finished it a few days ago and got Gemina in the mail yesterday. So can you guess what I'm going to be reading coming up soon? I think I might actually start it today. But Illuminae was an amazing book. It is written so interestingly. It's written in instant messages. It's written in like, I don't know how to describe it. They're like files. People are watching the security cameras and then making notes on those. There is pictures in it, all sorts of just little things in it. So it's basically, at its barest bones, it is a war that's going on in space. There's a little planet, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. It's like Kenzna or something. But this book is about Katie and Ezra, and they live on this little planet, and it gets basically blown up. And so while it is being blown up, they call for help, and a couple of spaceships come to help them. They have 3 spaceships that are all full of survivors, and they're running from the company that was blowing up the planet. And at the bare bones, it is about survival. It's about this war in space. There's so much more to it than that, but I worry that if I say any more, it'll give things away. So yeah, awesome, awesome, awesome book. The last book that I read while I was waiting for Gemina to get here was Furthermore by Tahira Mafi. And Furthermore is a Alice in Wonderland-ish retelling. It's about this girl named Alice who lives in Fenwood. And Fenwood is this very lush, beautiful little town that relies completely on magic. They harvest magic. They are all born with a magical talent. And the more magical they are, the more colorful they are. But she is not. She has virtually no color to her. She's very white. She has really light colored honey eyes. She can blush, and her lips do turn red. But for the most part, there's no part of her that's colorful except for her clothes. And she hates that. She feels so unloved and ugly. So she has this chance to go to Furthermore, to rescue her father, who has been gone for several years. And furthermore, is kind of like our Wonderland. Fenwood is definitely a weird town, but furthermore is bizarre. It's like Alice in Wonderland on crack. It is so beyond weird. And the only problem I had with this is that it made my dreams super, super weird. I have a problem with having very vivid dreams anyways, but after reading this, my dreams got psychotically vivid, and I'm really kind of glad that I'm done reading it, simply because I want my dreams to go back to kind of normal. But it was a really, really good book, and I gave it like a 3.75. I was so debating on giving it just a straight 4, but the fact that I kept having these bizarre dreams just took a little bit of my love away from the book, which is totally not the book's fault. It's just me and my weirdness. But yeah, that is the last book that I read this month. That is all 10. And now I have a little tiny mini TBR for next month. We leave as soon as tomorrow. We don't know for sure if we will get on the flight tomorrow or if we want to wait till the one's on Thursday, but the one that's tomorrow is a direct flight. Love Space A because we don't have actual tickets. It's basically a standby thing, and we fly on a military plane, and it just gets us back to the States. We have to fly commercial around the States, but this first leg of the journey is on military Space A, so it's really kind of up in the air, and I don't want to bring too many books with me. I am 100% sure that I am bringing Gemina with me, but luckily I have quite a few Kindle books that I have not been reading. A bunch of the stories that I've been wanting to read have been popping up on Kindle for super cheap, like less than $2, and so I went ahead and I grabbed a few of them. So of the Kindle books that I have a couple that are old and a couple that are new. One of my favorite authors is Mari Mancusi, and she writes for adult, young adult, and new adult. She's got different types of books from all over the place, and she definitely changes her name ever so slightly for each of the books. So the book series that I want to read is her Scorch series. It's been out for quite a while. I have it, but I haven't been reading it because it's been on my Kindle. So now that I'm only really bringing my Kindle, I thought this would be a good time to read it. One of the other books that I have that I just recently got was My Lady Jane, and I've heard wonderful things about it. I've heard that it is a tiny bit of historical fiction that mixed in with a lot of humor and a lot of makeup fiction. So I guess Lady Jane was queen for like 9 days, and then she was beheaded. So this book is taking the basics of a real person and completely changing the entire story. The last book that I'm looking forward to getting to is Labyrinth Lost. I don't know how many of these books I will be able to read, and I'm not exactly sure what all of them are about. I will definitely put the links below so you can see what books I am hoping to read. The whole Scorch series, My Lady Jane, as well as Labyrinth Lost. Labyrinth Lost is supposed to be this book that has to do with the Day of the Dead, and I'm not really sure. I don't know anything else about it. All I know is that it revolves around the Day of the Dead, so therefore I'm very intrigued, and I'm looking forward to reading that one as well. So I will definitely let you guys know. I don't know if I'm going to how this is all going to work. I'll probably do my wrap up prior to me coming home, and then I will do my book haul once I get here and actually have my books. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you have any questions, please let me know, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.